Welcome to How to Show Up Reading on Social Media Without Burnout. We're going to give everyone a couple of minutes to just trickle in. But it is so good to see your faces, Maddie and Erin. Hey! Maddie, how are you feeling today? How's your emotional, mental health? How are things flowing so far?
Things are going really well. I feel like it's been like a transformative month, like with the Lionsgate portal. We have a full moon today. I feel like I'm really like conquering my limiting beliefs, and I'm really excited to be here today because I feel like this will only help with that.
Yay, I love to hear that. Yes, such a potent, energetic time that we're going through with the Lionsgate. It's a really great time to really just let go of any of the fear and just really step into that desired reality and embody it. So, congratulations. I'm glad you're here. That really says a lot about your commitment to the work you're doing. Thanks so much for sharing. Yeah, Erin, do you want to unmute and share with us? How are you feeling today? And where are you guys calling in from too? Share that as well.
Oh, sure. I'm calling in from San Antonio, Texas. And yeah, I'm feeling good today. I was in a good rhythm for a couple hours this afternoon. Normally, I'm pretty tired around like 3 p.m. So thankfully, I was able to get into a good groove. So yeah, feeling great.
Yay, it's so good to hear that and totally understand what it's like to be in a funk and then to finally hit that wave of, okay, cool, I got it. I'm rolling with it. Let's go. That's
Yeah.
such a good feeling. And I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
So good to see you, Bree and Helena, Claudia. Do either of you guys want to unmute and share where you're tuning in from and how you're feeling today?
I can go. Hi everyone, I'm Bree. I am joining from Northern California. I'm in Auburn. I am feeling really like energized. I had a awesome astrology reading this morning, and I have so much Aquarius in me, and I'm lit up by this Aquarius full moon. So feeling really good energetically, and then physically I'm on my moon, so feeling like I'll be eating a lot of chocolate through this experience, and I'm just like wanting to lay in bed a bit. But yeah, so a little strange contrast physically and energetically happening right now, but overall really excited to be here. Feels good. And I got the last mastermind, I ended up very sick and needed to cancel, and I'm honestly so grateful because I feel like I'm a lot clearer now. So just grateful for that divine timing too.
Yeah, it's so funny how things end up happening like that. Like, okay, I got sick and you ended up joining, when you really, really needed it and were available for it. And I love that you brought up that you're on your moon and there's this contrast of energetically, you're feeling really excited to be here, really excited to learn, while physically your body's kind of like, I want to lay down. To be totally transparent with you guys, I'm also like on day 3 of my moon right now. So there's like layers of sensitivity and spaciousness that I'm really leaning into with this training today. So just know that's, woven into it, the moon magic comes with it. So I'm on the same page with you, Brie, on that. How about you, Claudia? Do you want to unmute and share where you're coming from?
Yeah, I'm just a little bit like bummed because my headphones are not working, and I feel just better when I can like actually like hear you straight in my ears.
Yeah.
But I'm living in Colorado, but I'm actually from Colombia, and I'm pretty good actually. I don't know about feeling love energy, that someone said that they feel love energy like around 3 p.m. For me, it's the opposite. Like I feel with more energy in the afternoons and in the evenings comparing to the morning. Like in the morning, I just want to chill and meditate and stretch and sleep. But right now, I'm good.
Yeah, I love that perspective, how it can be different for each person. And that's something we're going to talk about is like, what is consistency for you as an individual? What is consistency for your flow? It's allowed to change. Like, I've been in a pattern of hitting 3 o'clock and getting into that lull, and just the brain wants to shut off and take a nap and shut down for the day. But recently, I've actually been opposite, like you, Claudia, where like I have been hitting 3 o'clock and suddenly it's go time, and I've been working later into the evening. My hours are shifting. And so it's important to like recognize when those changes, when that flow kind of shifts, to be able to honor where is my body at and what does my body need for the timing of it all, and to ebb and flow with it. So loving these conversations already. I'm so happy to have you guys here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everyone who just tuned in. We were just doing a couple of check-ins, but it's time to get into it. Are you guys excited for this training the next 2 days? We're going to be diving into so many topics, so many pieces of information that I believe are going to bring a lot of value to you and your business, because our businesses are not just like this whole separate thing from ourselves. There's certain things where we can, detach from it and really just, we have our personal life and we have our business life. But as entrepreneurs, as we are people who are living and breathing our creative art, our mission, our vision, it can be harder to separate business from personal, right? So we're going to talk about how to blend the two when it comes to social media in a way that actually fuels the fire instead of just, putting it out with the water, right? So awesome, 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 awesome. For everyone who is joining us, if you want to drop in the chat where you're tuning in from and how you're feeling today, just a little energetic check-in, how you're feeling, you can let us know in the chat. So first of all, I want to celebrate all of you guys for showing up today, because I know it's 2 hours out of your day. You are busy, busy human beings, or, you like to just chill. So this time could have been used for something else, but you showed up and committed to yourselves today by coming here and getting out of your comfort zone and learning something new. So I just want to take a second to celebrate all of you, pour some love into all of you for taking the time to show up today. It really says a lot about your commitment to your personal well-being, but also the well-being and growth of your business and your vision as well. So it's very exciting. I want to let you guys know, I want to let you in on the vibe of this space. This is not a place where we participate in hustle culture. This is a space where we really tune in and listen to the cycles and the flow of the energy through our inner being so that we can radiate out into the world and make that impact through the inside out. So while we are going to be talking about certain strategies and action steps and things that, take action and initiation to do, please, please, please know to listen to your body, to listen to your cycles, to listen to your rhythms, and to pay attention to what is lighting up for you. What little whispers are saying, hey, pay attention to this? What little moments are knocking at your door saying, hey, there's something here for you? And what isn't? So I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things today. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Not everything I say today has to be an aha or something that you take with you, but pay attention to even the small moments that might stand out for you. So that being said, I encourage you guys all to have some way to take some notes, whether that's, digital notes or paper notes, whatever works best for you. I also encourage you guys to make sure you have water, you're in a cozy spot where you're going to be quiet and undisturbed. That way you can really lean in to what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to be sharing techniques that have really helped me and my businesses and also my clients develop a more intentional and healthy relationship with social media, while also increasing growth, engagement, and conversions through content and also through the conversations that are happening from that content. So we're going to look at that foundation with the mindset and organizational skills, while also talking about engagement and content creation as well. So I really, 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 really want to invite you guys to lean in and stay present throughout both days, because you never know what's going to light that fire for you and what's going to spark it. If you're like, I'm pretty good with content creation and I'm here mostly for the lead strategies, lean into the lead strategies, but I also invite you to lean into the content creation piece, because you never know. You just never know what's really going to ring that bell for you. So before we dive into the content, I'd love to share a little bit of a backstory with you guys, just for context about, how I ended up getting into this work and why I decided to host this training. Is that cool with everyone? Awesome. And yeah, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and add Kennedy as our co-host, and I would love to introduce her. Kennedy, if you would like to unmute and share with everybody who you are and how you're going to be supporting us through today and tomorrow's trainings.
Hi all, my name is Kennedy. I am the team manager in this space, and I'll just be here to help moderate. If there's any questions in the chat or there's any links that need to go out, I can be here to support with that as well. And I will be in control of our breakout rooms later in the session.
Yay! Thanks, Kennedy. Let's all give some love to Kennedy. She's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human being, a somatic practitioner and holistic healer, and just a very, very kind soul who's doing really important work in this world. So I'm super grateful to have her a part of our team, and you'll be seeing her throughout the trainings as well. You can always ask her for support if you need it. So going into the backstory, ever since I was a kid, you guys, I just knew that I was not here to walk the conventional path that I saw everyone walking. Even from a young age, I was like, I don't think that that's actually what I want. The job, the big house, the mowed lawn, like I just didn't want any of that. So then I went on this discovery of, well, what do I want? What is, my path? And from the time I was 10 years old, I was creating videos just naturally, just filming videos with my toys and making little animations and recording audios and exploring different things in that kind of field. So by the time I was 13, I actually got my very first job ever was doing photography and building websites for local businesses in my community. And I had so much fun doing it, going to these businesses, hearing their stories, telling these stories through the photos, and then coming back and plugging it into these websites that I knew hundreds of people would be looking at every single day. So from then on, I really decided I loved doing this kind of work with photos and videos and helping businesses. So I decided to start freelance content creation and social media management. And let me tell you, when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. I was fully going in there and experimenting and seeing what worked and what didn't and tweaking and going from there. So I've been doing content creation and social media management for over 10 years for tons and tons and tons of different business owners. And I have absolutely loved every single part of it. And the biggest thing that I have absolutely loved about it is this opportunity to experiment with new strategies and techniques that really, really lead from the heart and are focused on authentic connections and expression, real relationship building through this online space. I went to marketing school for a little bit because I was like, maybe, I need the degree like everyone else is doing. And after a few months, I realized that what I was being taught was really rooted in manipulation and coercion, and I just didn't want any part of that. I knew that there was a better way to do it, and so I continued on that path of, putting together strategies and systems that really were working from that heart-centered space. So the point is, through a lot of trial and error, I've been able to figure out strategies and systems that are really rooted from the heart and authenticity to make real connections through social media that ultimately leads to aligned sales and conversions through the online space, ultimately to make a better impact in the world. So whatever that means, right? Whether it's through massage therapy, yoga, holistic healing, permaculture initiatives, therapy, the list just goes on and on and on and on and on of different businesses that we can, create and bring to the world that creates impact. So my soul work is showing up here today to support all of these incredible entrepreneurs in the room, because I know every single person here has a calling in their heart. I know that throughout your life you have felt this calling that's maybe different from the typical, path. You grew up kind of knowing that you were a little bit different from most of the people around you, and you've gone through like lots of different trials and errors and like your own personal journey of discovering what that looks like for you. And now here you are stepping into that work, embodying that work, showing up to make the difference, to make the impact, to follow through with the vision that you know you were put here to do. And so with that comes so many questions, right? Like, how do I reach the people? Like, how do I share the message? How do I get myself out there? How do I show up in my confidence, in my radiance, feeling really good about the work I'm doing when there's so many other people out there doing what I'm trying to do? And what if they're doing it better than me, right? All the questions and the fears that come up. And you've had successes throughout this time, throughout this flow, but the questions continue to come and come and come because there's so many nuances in running your own business and being your own boss, especially when you're coming into it from a place of just desperately wanting to live in alignment with your truth, with your heart, with your soul, with your spirit, right? There's not as many, guidebooks for that kind of living. We're kind of creating it. We're in the process of creating these guidelines, this new chapter, this new era of living fully in alignment with business and impact, and being just a free-flowing creative human being who wants to exist in the world peacefully, right? So that's what we're here to do together today and tomorrow. So did that resonate with you guys? Are you feeling the vibe? Are you ready to dive in? If you're with me, drop a 333 in the chat so I know you guys are here. I see all your beautiful faces. If you don't have your camera on yet, I definitely invite you to have that turned on so we can all connect with each other and see all these beautiful faces. Beautiful. Woohoo! 333. All right, we are definitely on track today, you guys. So we are going to kick things off with a little breakout room session. And this is an opportunity for you guys to connect with each other in small groups, share a bit about who you are and what you're most excited about. So once you get into the breakout rooms with your group, assign one person to be the timekeeper, and we're gonna do 10 minutes. So make sure everyone has enough time to share. And you're going to share, first of all, who you are and what you do, so your name and the work you do, and what you're most excited.
Yeah, I should switch really quick.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. All right. Reminder to turn cameras back on as you come in. And I'd love to hear from you guys. How many of y'all met somebody awesome in your group? Yay! All right, Maddie, I'd love to hear from you. What did your group talk about? Like, what was the theme?
So I met with Harper and Mary, and we kind of like talked about like we all kind of are like in the like wanting to lead retreats, or we're in like the retreat, like wellness retreat space already, or we're like wanting to break through into that space. So it was cool that we were kind of aligned in that way. We're all kind of like mind, body, soul, integrative, holistic approaches in our businesses and, how we interact with people. So it was really cool that we're all aligned in those different areas.
Awesome. Oh, that's so cool. Because the way we set up the breakout rooms, it's totally randomized. Like, we don't plan who's going to go into the rooms together. And I love it when Spirit just organizes it so that all the right people are in the right rooms, right? Like, you meet the people that you need to meet, right? And of course, we all get the opportunity to meet each other in this space, but that's super cool. So thanks for sharing. Cool. Chanel, would you like to share what you and your group talked about? What was the theme?
Helena. Yeah. Um, it was interesting. We all sort of came, and I love this group because usually I'm in a group with other practitioners or people who do something very similar. We are all sort of in um, within a category, but we within different categories, if that makes sense. So it was really interesting. We had, social media management. We had artists. We had other practitioners, and I found it was just really collaborative. I think what we talked about, it was a conversation where somebody may have mentioned something and then somebody else could relate and connect, and that in itself felt very cohesive, felt very like, oh, I'm not the only one, and there isn't something wrong with me. And then somebody else would come in and offer almost a solution in a way. And then for me, at least, I can speak on my behalf, that felt super, super nourishing. It's Helena, right? Helena. What you said at the end, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, because my parts have been. I want my one part wants to come in and on social media and say this, and then another part wants to come in, and they're not. They're still in their cycle, meaning like they're not really fully healed yet, and so yeah, that was wonderful what you said. So it was just a really collaborative, beautiful conversation, where you kind of got all sides.
That's so beautiful to also come into a group where there's different perspectives that you can bounce off of each other with, and to support each other in that space with those different perspectives is beautiful, and absolutely why we're doing this. I love how you brought up like the different parts wanting to come in and say things on social media that are still in the healing process, that are still in that cycle of wounding, and being aware of that and being able to name that, speak to it, recognize it is so, so, so important. And the more work that you do with those parts is going to bring deeper integration to that idea, to the spirit of whatever it is that wants to be shared in a more authentic way. I mean, because we can authentically come on it from that wounding part and say, this is what's on my heart, right? But when we can integrate that and get to the deeper truth of what that part is telling us, speaking to us, then that content we put out there can be so much more impactful, really hit people, in their hearts, because we've all got these parts, right? Very, very good. Awesome. What a great group, you guys. I'm super excited you're all here. Sounds like you guys all had really beautiful, powerful conversations in that short period of time. So let's just keep the energy going. So I want you guys to take a second to reflect when we're talking about social media and all these parts that want to speak their truth out on this space. I want you guys to reflect on how you really, really want to feel when you post or create content on social media. What emotions, what energies do you want to embody and feel connected to when you're interacting with social media through your business? And once you have that, go ahead and drop it in the chat so we can all share and reflect with each other. Might be, I want to feel confident, I want to feel embodied, I want to feel honest, authentic, true, connected. Yeah, Erin wants to feel empowered and authentic. Harper wants to feel embodied and in alignment and in integrity, which is so, so, so important. So good. Authentic for sure, and connected. Yeah, I think all of us probably want to feel authentic, right? Like we want to show up and feel like, oh, that's me, when we go and watch our content back. Maddie wants to feel so grateful that she gets to use her voice. Authentic, integrity, impactful. So good, so good. Looks like a lot of us are on the same page, right? We want to feel aligned with our vision. We want to feel aligned with our truth. We want to feel spacious, embodied. We want to feel authentic and true to ourselves. Helena wants to feel whole so the message can really make the impact in others' lives, bringing it back to the parts, right? Like feeling really integrated, speaking from that core self. So good. So when we're talking about showing up confidently on social media, I want you guys to take these feelings, these words that you wrote in the chat, and at the top of your notes or on a sticky note, somewhere, someplace, write these down so you can continue to come back to this experience, these feelings. Because I want to invite you guys that you already have access to that reality right now in this moment. You already are whole. You already are embodied. You already are authentic. You already are in integrity. When that's your intention and that's the energy that you're coming with, you can't not be that, right? And there may be these other parts coming up that say, we're not whole and we're still healing and we're going through this, right? And like, I want to invite that we can be whole even with those parts healing, because that's a process that is just continuous throughout our life. New parts come up, new parts get hurt, new parts need attention and space. And we're constantly in that process of healing. So we can't necessarily wait for all the parts to be totally healed and totally perfect and in their places. But we can come from that core self, from that whole self that is already there, has always been there. So you already have access to that whole version of yourself, to the authentic, to the person who you are that really craves to be in integrity. You crave to be in integrity because that is such a core part of who you are and the vision that you're cultivating. So when we look at this in a more tangible perspective, right? A huge part of showing up confidently on social media is also connected to having a healthy relationship, which starts with your intention, your mindset, and your boundaries when it comes to social media. So I'm guessing pretty much all of us have experienced this, but I'd love to see a little raise of hands. Who here has experienced comparison when consuming content on social media? Yeah, pretty much I think everyone in the whole world experiences comparison at some point in time when they're going through social media. So take a moment to reflect. What are the main things that you tend to compare yourself to? Is it someone's level of, financial success, the money that they have, the beauty, the experience that they have, their talent, whatever, your perception of success is? What are the things that really stand out to you that kind of trigger this comparison? And the reason why I'm having you guys reflect on this is because these main qualities that you're seeing in other people's content and then feeling comparison about, you already have within you. And that's why it's stirring up this comparison, because you already have it within you, but you might not be recognizing that you already have it within you. Social media is showing us so much external, what people have, what they're doing, what they're eating, what their life looks like, what place they're traveling to, what the success looks like, right? But we don't always necessarily know what they're feeling on the other side. So that desire to have what they have is really stemming from a place of recognizing that you already have that within yourself. If it's success, if it's money, if it's travel, knowing that you have the power, the strength, the tools, the experience, the expertise within yourself naturally to claim those material things as well, if that's what the desire is, material. So let's see, in the chat, knowledge, education, intellect, articulation of words, number of followers, that's a big thing. Going to someone's page, seeing how many followers they have and going, oh, well, they've got the expertise and they've got the experience and they know how to, speak to what they want and speak to what they're providing for people. And so people trust them. In reality, the number of followers that someone has on their account does not equal success. It can be a part of it. It can be a role, right? A piece of the puzzle, but it's not the full picture. I know plenty of people who have 20K, 50K, 100K and up who aren't making any money from social media. They went viral, they got a huge, flood of people coming in, but they don't know how to manage that. It's a whole thing to have that many followers. Whereas there's also so many people who have 50 followers, 100 followers, 1,000 followers, 5K followers who are making a lot of money in their businesses and having a lot of success and making a huge impact through the work they're doing with a very small following. And it's all about the way that you connect with people intentionally through that authentic voice, through that authentic connection. So this articulation of words, this desire to have, clear articulation of words, I believe that really comes from, first of all, practice. There's a real thing of like getting comfortable talking in front of the camera, and that does just come with practice and time and continuing to do it and getting out of your comfort zone and hitting up against the edge, right? But also it comes from it really truly being embodied in your message, having that clarity of who you want to speak to, why you're speaking to them in the first place, and what do you want to share and how can you share that from that place of embodiment, from the heart space, from that core self that is already whole, right? That's where that clear articulation of words comes from. And sometimes it's honestly the ums and the ifs and the buts that come with being a human and speaking to the camera that actually make people feel closer to you. So I want to encourage you guys to don't get too caught up in it being perfect and being word for word and, being perfect. It's in those human moments that people go, oh, she's human too. So like it gives them permission to open up and be human too. When people see that. Beautiful. Helena, is there something you want to pop on and share?
I actually have a question for you, because something that I've been noticing on social media, and I'm brand new in social media, just 5 months, is that people deliver very short messages, like something really quick. And I admire that, because sometimes they deliver they just touch you. Like I feel touched. I'm like, oh my God, they said what I really want to say, but in like a minute or two. But I am not like that. I like talking, and I like conversing, and I like having the space and the time and my rhythm. So my videos are like 5 minutes. And I wonder if like one day someone might just stay and listen to the whole pause. And because I want to invite people to pause, to bring something completely different that is in social media, that is quick, like eating quick, walking quick, listening quick, reading quick. No, I want you to pause and listen and stay. Is that possible?
Yes. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. And that's something that we're actually going to dive deeper into during tomorrow's training, when we're going to dive into content creation, because there's a fast-paced society thing going on right now. People's attention spans are getting lower and lower and lower and lower with social media. This is something that we've known for quite some time, and it's just increasing with short form video, right? So like there's a way to basically use short form video, cut it together from the long form video, use it to grab people's attention and bring them to that place of the pause. Because sometimes people need that snap to pull them in and go, oh my God, I need to pause. How long has it been since I've taken a pause? And tomorrow I'll share exactly how I recommend doing that and the process I do to do that exact same thing. Okay, Chanel, quick question, and then we're gonna continue with the training.
I just wanted to, it's not a question, it's just maybe like an offering to you, Helena, is when you speak, like it's so calming for my nervous system. I want to listen. I'm not even focusing on so much the messaging of like slowing down. Like, yes, I am, but like your tonality and your voice is so soothing that it'll captivate certain people. And I notice that's what on my videos, like I don't get a lot of views necessarily, but I do get on the views that I do get, I get a lot of messages just saying, I listen to your voice, Chanel, and it just calms me. And I feel like you have that same gift. So yeah, I don't do short videos either. And it's meditative for people because voice is so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Yeah, if you have this voice that and you're slower with your words and you take more pauses and there's breath being embodied into that experience, like lean into that because that's authentic to you. That's a part of who you are. And so there's no need to like change it to meet society where it's at. We want to connect with people who resonate with where we're at, where we're coming from, the messages we have to share, the medicine that we have to share. So there's ways that you can take your gifts and your natural, embodiment and formulate it into a way that still reaches those audience to invite them into that space with you. But at the end of the day, like, I don't want you to change who you are and the way you speak and the way you invite people into your space, because that is your medicine. That is your gift. And that unique gifting is why people will want to work with you. So that's super, super important to keep intact through any of this conversation. And this right here, this whole conversation brings me to this conversation about evidence. Because sometimes we have these patterns, we have these thoughts, we have these ideas, these beliefs embedded deep within our soul, deep within our subconscious, that tell us we don't have the success, we can't have the money, we can't, have the impact, we can't, reach the people because we're not that person that does that, right? We've never done it before. There's no evidence in our current existence that shows us that we can do that, especially if we're just starting out and we're like, newer to putting ourselves out there on social media, running a business, or just new in this field. Maybe you've taken a pivot and you're in a new field and you're kind of starting fresh. Regardless of where you're coming from, creating and collecting evidence to back yourself up in those moments of comparison and self-doubt is a really, really great way to remind yourself that you got this and that energy already exists within you, and that's why you're getting triggered by it, right? So Helena, like, coming up and saying, like, I want to make longer videos because I want to invite people to pause, and then having Chanel come on and say, hey, your voice is so soothing, like, please continue to do that. That's evidence. Bing, like, lock it, put it in the vault, write it down on a piece of paper. Remember when Chanel said this to me? Put a sticky note on your wall. Like, I know people that will make lists or like Excel spreadsheets, whatever works for you, whatever system works for you, where you can easily find this vault of evidence. It's super helpful. So first of all, recognize when these moments happen and celebrate it for yourself and celebrate who you are and celebrate that truth so you can lean into it even more and really embody it. But also for those moments when you feel the comparison, when you feel the self-doubt, when you feel the fear, you can go, okay, I have like a few seconds to turn this around. Let me open up this document. Let me pull out this piece of paper that I carry folded up in my pocket, with a few things on it. Let me pull these notes in my phone and remind myself how awesome I am. Remind myself of these times where I did make this impact in somebody's life, when I did, make 10K in a week, when I did, post something that really resonated with someone, whatever it is, having that evidence. And you can have it, emotionally, mentally in your mind, but having the tangible list is also a game changer for those moments when we are so deep in the cycle, we can't find the vault that's in here in our minds. Having those physical reminders is super helpful. And you can have multiple lists across multiple different places, whatever you need to do to keep something around for yourself is super helpful. Like if it's money and wealth, think about how abundant you are to have a home, to have food on your plate. Even just recognizing what you already have is evidence that you have wealth in your life, that you have abundance in your life. It doesn't need to look like all these material things. Wealth is not just material things. It's the amount of time you get to spend in the sunshine. It's the feeling of your feet, your bare feet on the grass. It's the smell of the ocean, coming through your windows. Whatever those moments of like peace and tranquility and just pure abundance that you can tap into with yourself. That's evidence that you are abundant, that you are already wealthy, even if the physical manifestation of the money isn't here yet. You keep leaning into that abundance that you can feel in all these moments, and you can keep tapping into this evidence. It becomes easier and easier and easier to remember that this always exists within you. Then when you go relate on social media, you're coming from that place. And this is all about really cultivating this within yourself, because you can implement any strategy. You can do whatever the heck you want on social media, and it'll either work or it's not going to work based on where you're coming from within. If you're posting like, God, this needs to work, God, this needs to work, I'm gonna like fall apart, this doesn't work. What do you think you're putting into that? And we can have compassion for that part of ourselves too. That might be coming from that place of this has to work, this has to work, this has to work, right? That's the survival mode of like, I am on my own in this business, and it is up to me to like make the income that I need to survive. It is up to me to make this impact to reach the people, right? And that's true. Like, you're the person who is cultivating this. And so there's a level of responsibility there. And so we can have compassion for that part who wants to make it work, while also recognizing, hey, it's okay. Like, we got it. We're already abundant. Like, we're in the process of doing this. We're just, laying down the foundation. We're really like making it happen, but it's not in a forceful way. Like, we don't have to force it. We don't have to force it. Take action. But just like with the breath, right? Like, when we're not thinking about breathing, our breath might be more shallow. It might be more condensed. It might be more suppressed, right? But when we are conscious of the breath, we can take deeper and deeper breaths. We can fill up the lungs fully. We can really breathe into the parts of our body that might be feeling discomfort and pain. And so your business is like this too. When we're not thinking about it, we're just doing. It's going to get shallow. It's going to get condensed. It's going to get repressed, right? When we have that intention and we are aware of the pieces of the puzzle, and we're aware of what we're bringing to this space, we can really feel it start to expand and release, right? And really lean into that experience. What we want, we already have. What we want, we already have. Always, 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 always. Sometimes we just need those reminders, right? But sometimes it isn't always that clear and that easy, because we've gotten so deep into the subconscious patterns and beliefs and fears that we're having a hard time just pulling up that list and going, yeah, I'm amazing, that's great. Like, we might read it and go, okay, and here I am feeling this way. And those feelings need to be validated. Those feelings need to be respected without getting lost in them. And so there are some tools that I really like to use to continue to support the subconscious programming that we might be working with, that we might be dealing with. There's a lot of different modalities that you can use. We've kind of already been talking about parts work a little bit, which is one of my favorite modalities and tools to use to integrate wounding, to integrate, parts that are struggling or angry or confused into the whole self with healing, right? So this is something you can explore on your own. This is also something you can explore with a practitioner, someone who is licensed in parts work, to kind of take you through it if it's something you're new to. So I definitely encourage exploring that if you haven't already. But I also want to share with you guys some free resources that I use on a daily basis, just about, to just keep the momentum going of positive support for the subconscious beliefs that exist, because we all have them, right? It's all from the way that we were raised or certain things that were, you know, just said to us when we were younger, things that we have adopted over time. We all have them. So it helps to have some tools that we can implement into the daily practice that just, you know, catch it all. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat here for you guys to check out. And these links, anything that I'm going to be sharing will be sent to you in an email with the replay of today's session. So you can access them there as well. But this first video I just sent is actually an affirmations video. And if you're familiar with affirmations already, then you know when you sit with affirmations, you have to really believe what you're saying for it to work. And the point of doing these affirmations is not to disregard the fears, the subconscious feelings of I'm not worthy or like I don't have money, right? Whatever those subconscious beliefs are that you're working with, it's not to negate those, but it's rather to, again, give them evidence that we do. We do. We already have the thing that we're desiring. So this video I really, really like because she gives the affirmations as a you are statement. So she says, you know, you are worthy of abundance and success, right? Whatever it might be. And then you repeat back, I am. And there's something about that pattern for me that really, really, really digs deep into my subconscious because she's saying, you are this. And I get to repeat back, yeah, I am this. And I want you guys to, like, when you try this, lean into your little, like, actor self, your little playful self, the inner child who used to like show up and put on plays for your family. And as you see the affirmations, imagine yourself in a scene like someone's coming up to you and saying things to you and you're like, yeah, I'm rich. I have a lot of money. Like, of course I have investments and I have this success and this success. Like, of course I'm rich. When you can embody it through the play of kind of, you know, because if you don't fully believe it and you're saying the affirmations and it's kind of like, well, I can hear the disbelief in my voice, right? Sometimes we have to put ourselves in a different part, in a different position to play the role, to tell the subconscious mind, it's okay to accept this. It's okay to embody this. So that's a resource I really, really love. And if you want something that's a little bit more passive that you can just throw on and play while you're doing your dishes or working on your business, this playlist that I just dropped in the chat is a really good resource for that. So these are subliminal affirmations played underneath some lo-fi hip hop beats, or, you know, every video is different and they have different themes. And she lists the affirmations in the description so you can see exactly what's being said, so you know what's being programmed. But this is a really great way to just very subconsciously be absorbing these ideas, these beliefs into your subconscious so that you can really gain that evidence and acceptance within yourself of, you know, these parts that you might be working with and wanting to step into more. This is just one way that we can continue to support our systems and our inner workings to have success through social media within our businesses. And it's something that I think is just very supportive in general, regardless of what area of life you're looking at. In my opinion, like, these triggers that we can get from comparison really is a gift because it shows us where our secret strengths live. It shows us what we really want to continue to work on. So as you go through and you have those moments of comparison, maybe you come back and you look at, you know, what came up for you when we did that exercise. Try to speak affirmations to that part of yourself. I am clear and precise with my words. I know exactly what I want to say to people to make an impact, right? And maybe you write your own affirmations in regards to what has been triggering for you, what has triggered that comparison, so that you can continue to program those beliefs, those positive beliefs within your subconscious as well. Are you guys following me with all of this? How is this feeling so far? Is it like feeling juicy? Is it feeling supportive? Nice. Sweet. I love it. I love talking about this stuff because the mindset, the energetics, the intention that we bring behind everything we do is honestly the most important part of all of this. Because like I said before, we can implement any strategy, but if we're not really feeling it behind the scenes, that's going to be felt by the people who are reading the message. It's going to be felt by the people watching the reel, right? And it's not to say that we have to be like so perfect and so contained when we post. Like sometimes we're going to post and it's going to be messy, right? But the point is, like, what's the intention behind that? I'm sharing this post messy because I want to show people you don't have to be perfect and curated to make an impact in people's lives, right? And yeah, I just see Helena shared a beautiful book to work on inner parts, No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz. Yeah, it's a very, very good book with the IFS approach, which is great. And I know a lot of you are already kind of in the world of somatic healing. Some of you are, right? And so these concepts that you teach to other people, these concepts that you bring into the world also apply to your business, also apply to the way you interact with social media as well. So don't forget to embody the practices that you are sharing and teaching and integrate that into the way that you interact with social media as well. Because when people see you being your true authentic self, they also see themselves. When they're able to see themselves in your experience of going from, I'm triggered because I saw something on social media, now I'm going to do a somatic exercise that brings me back to myself, and now I feel more whole. Like that's a whole thing you could even just share on social media to show people you're not alone in this experience of fear and frustration and heartbreak, whatever it is. Because I'm human and I'm experiencing it too. And this is what I literally do to move myself through it and get to the other side. For so long, you guys, social media has been a highlight reel, right? Like we see the highlights of people's lives. We see the beautiful moments. But this has been changing, and I'm sure you guys have noticed, this has been changing over the past 6 months. This experience of constantly absorbing people's highlight reels has made us all hungry for deeper connection, especially as social media grows. More and more people are becoming disconnected. We are hungry for that real connection. And that's actually what drives people to consume more content on social media. So that vulnerability, which leads us to a place of intimacy and connection, is what we really need in this space right now. Not to keep people consuming, but to catch them in the consumption and say, hey, there's a better way. We can make this real connection, right? And so I want you guys to think about that in your content. It's fun to curate videos, right, in a certain way, to have an idea and breathe art and creativity into it. And I'm not saying don't do that. But how can we bring a deeper level of vulnerability and humanness into the content that we're creating? That's the question. And I believe that's the goal, because this is what's going to help you connect with your ideal audience. Not trying to copy or mimic some influencers. This is the formula. This is how you do it. This is how you make a viral reel. Like those things can be helpful, but how can you breathe your life into what you're creating? I'm sure you guys have heard the phrase like fake it till you make it. Have you guys heard that before? So when I first started my business, I was like living by this because I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm like, I'm faking it till I make it, right? I'm figuring it out as I go. And a lot of us start that way where we're like, okay, like maybe you have certain skills, you have certain things that you know you can bring, but there's other areas of the business where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just gonna have to like figure it out as I go along. I believe that we're actually a lot better off being honest and transparent about where we're at through the process, because then we get to connect with people in more vulnerability. And people are tired of being misled, honestly. So I really encourage you guys to be honest with where you're at, to show up in your strength where you are strong, and to show up in your weakness where you feel weak, because people will connect with that. So it's really important to just breathe that life into everything that you do, because people want to work with you for who you are. So tell your story, share your challenges, share your breakthroughs. People want to follow a journey and an experience and become a part of a movement that's greater than them. And the good news is that you guys already have that calling. That's why you're here. You know in your core that you have that message to share, and you already know how to do it. And it's just a matter of kind of implementing these reminders and stepping into it and continuing to practice and having that evidence and working with the subconscious beliefs, integrating those parts and showing up continuously and still, you know, sharing what needs to be shared. So now that we've talked a lot about kind of the energy and the intention that we're coming through with and how to share that through social media, how to work with these parts, we need to have a real talk about boundaries, because this is a huge issue that a lot of people face with social media. And when I first started doing this social media work, I would find myself going on to do a post for a client, and then all of a sudden I am like scrolling for 3 hours and time is gone and I don't know where I am and I don't even know what I just looked at, you know? Does that happen to you guys? Yeah. Okay. So I got to a point in my business where I was like, this cannot happen anymore, or I literally can't do this work if I can't get this under control. And social media is designed to be addictive. There's just truth to that. So how do we work with a platform that's designed to be addicted, to reach people, to make an impact, and essentially get them off of the platform, right? That's the goal, is to get them off of the platform and into your spaces where you can really work deeper with them. So a huge part of that is boundaries, because we have to have our own energetic hygiene if we want to have that impact on other people's experience as well. So this really does require a cultivation of self-trust, which is discipline. I know a lot of creatives, a lot of artists, and me included, you guys, me included, a lot of healers do not like discipline, structure, having things like that. And I get it, because I've been there and I am that person. However, I have come to realize over the past 10 years of running my own business that discipline and structure is actually what gives you freedom. It is actually what gives you the space to show up in your true self. And when we're talking about social media, this is a perfect example. Because if we have no discipline around social media, it's so much easier to get lost in the scroll and to get caught up in the memes, honestly, or whatever other videos we're watching. And without the boundaries, we just slip up into that space really easily. With the boundaries, we're able to show up with more intention. We're able to show up with more clarity, which gives us the freedom to do what we're really there for, to do what we really actually want to be doing, to create the life of freedom that we're actually cultivating through the work that we're sharing in this space. So I want to run through a little exercise with you guys. We're going to reflect and create our own boundaries with social media. And I'm going to share with you also a worksheet that I've created that you can start to fill out now, or this is something that you can return to after our session. To access this worksheet, it is on Notion. If you don't have a Notion account yet, you will need to make an account. If you already have an account, you just sign in. And once you get to the page, there's a little button in the top right corner that says duplicate. You'll duplicate it, and then you can edit it and put in your own stuff. Or if you just want to use this as a template and you want to write it down on a piece of paper, that's fine too. Either way, I highly recommend going through these questions and exploring with yourself what are your personal boundaries, writing them out somewhere and having them somewhere where you can see them consistently, especially if the scrolling has been an issue for you. Have these boundaries available to access regularly so that you can remind yourself, give yourself that evidence of like, hey, I'm committing to having a better relationship with social media, and this is exactly how I'm doing it. So just take a moment to reflect, and you can type it in the chat or type it in your worksheet. What days and times do you want to give yourself permission to use social media? Maybe you only use social media during your working hours and you have a set working time and schedule for yourself that feels really good. And of course, with all of this, there is always the ability to change and have flexibility. Like nothing is ever set in stone. You cannot ever break it, but it's simply a guideline for you to fall back on in those moments of, you know, weakness that we all have of, oh, just one more video. The second thing I want you to consider is what activities will you partake in on social media? How are you going to use social media? Maybe you only use social media for posting content and networking with your clients or leads. Maybe you make an exception for yourself on the weekends to scroll and watch whatever memes you want, but maybe you put a timer on it and you give yourself like a time frame to do that. And the third thing to consider is who. Who do you plan to connect with? Do you want to use your account for personal, for business, or for both, basically? I personally recommend keeping things separate if you are going to use social media to keep up with family and friends, and only using that social media on the weekends so that during your work week, during your work hours, you are focused with your intention on social media with who you're speaking to. It's also super helpful to have it separate if maybe like your Instagram account is full of people who you went to high school with and you feel subconsciously embarrassed to talk about what you're talking about or to be vulnerable to that particular group of people. It can be helpful to start fresh, to have a community that is following you because of who you are and what you're sharing, and not just because we went to high school together, right? So it can be nice to keep those things separate. And it's just up to what works best for you. Right? What works best for you? Whatever boundaries you need to set for yourself to be clear with the way you're using social media, implement that for yourself. It's a form of self-trust. It's a form of commitment and devotion to your inner world, as well as the world that you are creating for yourself externally. The life that you're creating, the life that you're building, the freedom you want to experience from the inside out really does stem from having these healthy boundaries. If this is something that you do struggle with the scrolling and consistently finding yourself, you know, on social media. So I highly recommend you guys go through that worksheet as well and ask yourself those questions and just get really clear on when and what and who you are connecting with in this space. Is that helpful for you guys? To have kind of that guideline, that framework of how to set these kinds of boundaries. Because we can say boundaries, boundaries, boundaries all day long, right? But if we're not getting specific on like what exactly does this mean, it can be so easy to be like, oh yeah, well, my boundary is to only, you know, use social media during work hours. Okay. But are you just going to be scrolling, watching memes during your work hours because you're using social media then, right? So getting a little bit more specific, I'm only going to use it during work hours, and I'm only going to use it for posting content and doing outreach or connecting with my followers or connecting, replying to comments, finding new people, etc. That's going to help a lot. So a few other action items I want to leave you guys with before we open up the space for ahas and questions and reflections. First of all, creating that list of boundaries. But also the other thing you can do, and maybe you already do this, but you can actually put blocks on your apps. So if you've been using Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever it is for too much time, it will literally cut you off and say you're done. And then you have to practice that self-control of not clicking ignore and just going back to what you're doing. All right. And that's where that self-trust comes in. I want to remind you guys that when those moments happen, whether it's, you know, ignoring the blocker, the timer, whatever it is, you have like a split second to make a decision whether you're going to show up for yourself or not. And I just want to leave this question with you. Is it really worth it in this moment to watch this cat video and hurt my self-trust? Is it really worth it to damage my own relationship to myself, my own trust of my ability to stay committed and devoted to my intentions to watch this cat video right now? And sometimes that question, just having that question locked and loaded, and it's a practice, right, to have this there. Having that can help just totally derail, you know, the unhealthy behavior, stepping back into the unhealthy pattern. You can also treat yourself with a piece of chocolate. Like having positive incentives is a really great way to just train your brain to stop hitting the ignore button on your blockers. But it creates, when you have the blocker, it creates that step. Without it, you don't even have the opportunity to say, is it really worth it? Because you're just in it until you're burnt out and you have to go like stumble into the kitchen and finally make yourself food, right? Or whatever it is. So that's a really great tool to have as well. The other thing I would really encourage you guys to do, and this is going to support everything. This is going to support your content creation abilities. This is going to support, you know, just getting really clear on who you are, what you're speaking to, your unique voice. Take a social media fast for 30 days. So what does this mean? Because we have to show up for our businesses on social media still, right? This means going on and posting and ghosting. And I know a lot of people say don't do that because the algorithm is not going to like it. But to be honest with you guys, I kind of take the approach of like, yeah, we can talk about the algorithm and all the changes all day long and victimize ourselves to it. But at the end of the day, I think our energy has a lot more to do with where things end up going than the numbers in the algorithm. So I have done this a lot. Post and ghost. You post it, you put it out there, or you schedule it out there, you let things post, and you take a step back and you live your life and you get really clear in your abundance energy. You get really focused on yourself and you get really focused on other areas of your business. And the people come and the people come and the people come. And it might not be right away, but having that content out there, putting something out there is better than nothing. And sometimes we need that space. So social media fast for 30 days just basically means no scrolling. But if you are doing outreach, if you are doing networking, following up, and content creation, then this is just really an opportunity for you to lean into that self-trust, that responsibility, that devotion as well, and to just make sure you're not consuming content for 30 days so you can get more clear on your vision, your truth, your words, the way you speak to the world. The last thing, and then we're going to open it up for questions and ahas and all of this, is when you feel that comparison ick. Like if you come across a post and you are scrolling, whether it's intentionally or not, and you get that comparison ick of, I wished that I was in that person's life. I want to invite you to just temporarily mute the account or unfollow that account. Because when we're filling our feed with these things that trigger the comparison, we can just get caught up in that, and it can just continuously trigger, and sometimes we just need space from it. So it's a temporary solution to give you the space to work through that trigger and come back to it in a way where you have a little bit more control over when you explore that trigger. Okay, so how are we feeling? I know there's some hands up. Chanel wanted to share something, so I want to give you the opportunity. We're just going to take some time to share some ahas and reflections, and you can ask any questions about everything we just talked about. So feel free to unmute when you're ready.
Bree, did you want to go first? I know you had your hand up.
Well, I had a question in regards to that post and ghost. I know you said sort of disregarding algorithm pleasing for the moment, but what are your thoughts on, like, I know that responding to comments within the first hour of posting something is really important. Responding to messages in a timely way, I think that I would just love your insight on that from a strategy perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question and definitely something that needs a little bit more context. So when I say post and ghost, I don't mean not responding to comments and not responding to messages, but what I'm saying is if you need to post it and then get out of there because you're struggling with a scrolling addiction or you're finding yourself falling back into that pattern, it's okay to do that. Yes, it's great if you can get to the comments within the first hour, but sometimes people are going to comment on your post 5 hours later, 3 days later, right? The most important thing is just that you do reply to the comments. So it doesn't have to be right away, but respond to the comments, even if it's just an emoji or a thanks so much for sharing, or, you know, love this reflection, or hey, I sent, you know, the info to your DMs if they're asking for specific thing. Just having that response is good. And even if you have old posts that people have commented on and you didn't see it and you go back, I still think it's important to go back and respond to comments, even if they were posted like 3 weeks ago, because that might spark somebody's engagement again. So post and ghost is really just when you're like really struggling with the addiction part of things and you need to just get out of there and you're in a social media fast and you need to just be a little more disconnected from everything that's going on in there. You can also have a virtual assistant respond to your comments if that feels good for you. You can give them scripts that are literally coming from your heart. So it's like they're an extension of you, so that those comments are getting responded to in a timely manner. And same thing with DMs as well, where if there's like a specific funnel, specific information people are looking for, you can have a virtual assistant with a script that came from your words, your heart, that they send in response to a specific question. You can also set up certain automations with ManyChat that will automatically respond to comments and automatically send people specific information or answer specific questions, which is super helpful. It's an additional service, it's an added cost. But if you're doing a lot of posts that are like comment, you know, free masterclass or whatever, to give people information, it's super helpful so that you can be, you don't have to be in the task of responding to comments and sending DMs all the time. So is that helpful? Does that clarify for you?
Yeah, super, super helpful. I think that I'm just craving more I really appreciated what you said earlier about like the strategy, what was the word that you used? Like the discipline sort of being the container. And I think that I feel connected to the more creative, intuitive part of social media, and I'm craving like more of that container and strategy to navigate things. So that's really where that question is coming from for some context too, but very helpful.
Yeah, I absolutely love that because we have to have both, right? The intuitive, the creative, the energetic side of things, but also we do have to have some kind of structure because that's what we can plug into to have that freedom. And the goal is honestly like to remain authentic and remain involved in your social media processes without having to be all up in it all the time, because we want to come from our heart. Like we want to come from the heart and be authentic and make these real connections with people, but we also cannot be everywhere at once. And as your businesses start to grow, you're not going to be able to manage all those DMs on your own. You're not going to be able to manage all those comments on your own. You're not going to be able to manage, even if you have a small following. It's a lot when you are also building an entire business on the back end. So I just want you guys to consider that as we move forward, that this is something where sometimes the strategy is delegating and handing certain things over and doing your best to infuse your whole process that you're handing over with your authentic touch. So that any strategy, any delegation, any tool that you're passing your time off to is an extension of you and your heart and your vision. Thanks so much for asking that question. That was definitely an important thing to touch on. Okay, any other questions or ahas? I know Chanel, you wanted to share something.
I think thank you for that, Bree. That was really supportive. No, I don't know if I have a question. It's more from, so like everything that you're saying, I take it and then I see it through the lens of the nervous system. And I'm just curious, and like maybe you can shed some light, like being a female in like and going through our cycles, and like everything is always changing and ebbing and flowing. And like for me, setting boundaries doesn't, like, just to set boundaries doesn't work unless it's from a somatic space. So like feeling like if I just like cut out social media, my body will be revved because it's needing connection, it's needing to numb out, it's needing to just disconnect to kind of reconnect. And I was wondering if you had any insight on that, because just saying I'm not going to do something, like my parts are so strong. My inner child is so resilient, in beautiful ways and also in very debilitating ways. And coming from a background of struggling with addiction, like I just get obsessed and I just hook on telling myself or that I'm not going to do it, or setting the list. I know for me doesn't, my body will override that in a second. So do you have any insights for a system like mine of what might work? Because I love boundaries, but I know just like writing them down, like
Yeah.
I have these rebels within me that are just like, fuck that, and just want to toss them out. Yeah, and I'm curious if you just have any insight, and also like just being a female in this work and like having a cycle and just like right now I'm about to get my period and I am not creative at all. There is nothing coming through whatsoever.
Yeah, this is such an important conversation and something Kennedy and I were actually literally talking about while you guys were in your breakout rooms, how to manage and work with and flow with the cycle that we go through as female-bodied humans every single month. And I'm going to go in depth about how to create content around your cycle in tomorrow's training. So we'll get to dive even deeper into that as well. It's such an important part of my work and like just important. We're women, like we manage our businesses differently than men who can just go. And all of us have different energy signatures. All of us are working with different parts. All of us are working with different levels of experiences, different levels of struggles and challenges, right? So it is a unique experience exploring how to integrate these boundaries. And that's why I say explore the boundaries that work for you. And so it sounds like for you, somatically, you have to do some level of integration of why you're setting these boundaries for yourself, and like acceptance of, okay, like we don't want to, like I don't want to hurt you anymore. Like maybe even talking to that inner child part and saying like, I am establishing these boundaries because I love you, because I care about you. And I know you just want to numb out right now. I know you just want to mindlessly scroll. I know you just want to take in all this stimulation. But I have an idea of something that's going to be even better for us. And take her into a creative exercise. Take her into, being outside for a moment. And I also want to say, like, it is okay to have moments in times where you do numb or mindlessly scroll or consume content. Like, I'm not saying cut it all out, it's all bad. I'm just saying sometimes we have these cycles where we need that space, to resource from other places. But for example, like when I am about to start bleeding, I have very painful bleeds, and sometimes that pain is so intense, and I do so many things for it, right? Naturally, that the only thing that helps me manage my pain is like cannabis and watching YouTube videos or Netflix. And that's okay, because sometimes we need that space to just shut off and not do the deep work. Sometimes we just don't want to do the deep work, and that's okay, because we need that space to also breathe and just be a human being in this world. And sometimes the consumption is fun. Sometimes the consumption is actually beneficial. You know, like there's shows that I've watched on Netflix that I walk away from going, oh my God, I feel like a part of me has been recognized through watching this show. And so it's not to say disconnect from it, but explaining to your part, speaking to your part in those moments when you do need the space. And there's that recognition, because you know, like I believe that you have a knowing within yourself when it goes over the threshold, like when it becomes an unhealthy pattern, when you are being avoidant of working, of taking care of yourself, of taking care of the things that you need in your inner world. That's when the conversation has to be had of, hey, you know, little Chanel, I love you. I know that it's hard right now, and there's things that you would rather, you know, be doing than doing the dishes. But this is actually really supportive for us. And like, if we can just, you know, we can, like, I'll set you up in your little garden, right? Maybe you have like an inner world for your inner child, where you can set her up with a little creative exercise or integrate that into your physical reality. And I think that'll help kind of integrate those boundaries from an internal, more somatic approach. But of course, this is a unique journey, and you might have to try different things to implement it. Doing the worksheet and writing it out is like the beginning stages of recognizing what you need for yourself, so you can have those deeper conversations. And so then you can explore, you know, what pathway is working best for me to actually really, really embody and implement these things. And again, we're not perfect. There's going to be times where we break our boundaries, and sometimes that's done intentionally, because sometimes we need that space to just veg out. Sometimes it's unintentional. And so that's when we want to look at, okay, where am I going with my self-trust, and how can I hold myself? Is that helpful?
Yeah, that was perfect. That was beautiful. When you said, I'm not gonna, like, I don't want to hurt you anymore, I was like, oh, she sees me. Like that somatically landed. So yeah, thank you.
I'm so glad. You're welcome. Yeah, really at the end of the day, this conversation around self-trust is just about like showing up for ourselves, loving ourselves so deeply that we're willing to align our actions to that love. And sometimes we don't even recognize that this behavior is unhealthy or it is harming us, right? The inner child's like, well, why? Why is it bad for me to like watch videos all day? That's fun. But it actually is super depleting of our dopamine, and damages our nervous system and gets us all out of whack. So we have to be responsible with that as well. Awesome. You guys are amazing, and I'm so grateful for the reflections and the conversations that are coming up through this. Really beautiful stuff. So I would love to move us into the next training moment, where we're going to talk about how to actually connect and make these real relationships with people through social media. Does anyone have any last minute short share? Do you guys need a water break, a bathroom break? Like, how are we feeling? I just want to check in. I'm seeing a head nod about a bathroom water break. Yeah. Okay. So let's break for just a few minutes, like 3 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll dive right in. Okay? All right. I'll see you guys in 3 minutes. all right. I just want to slowly invite you guys to return back to the space so we can dive into the next chapter of learning. When you're back, just make sure you put that camera back on so that we know that you're with us, and we will dive in once everyone is back in the space. By the way, this music that I've been playing is from that subliminal playlist that I shared with you guys. This one is all about confidence and abundance. Just feels like a good way to, yeah, bring us all into that space. All right, so it looks like pretty much everyone is back. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start diving into the next section here. How's everyone feeling after a little bathroom break? Feeling renewed? Excited to dive in? Keep learning? Yay. Okay, so we are going to dive into a little bit more structure, kind of speaking on the discipline piece, speaking on the strategy piece. We're going to see how the whole conversation we just had around the inner world and energetics mindset and boundaries relate to this strategic approach as well. So when we talk about engagement on social media, it is super, super, super important that we're clear with our intentions, right? Like we all just talked about. The way that you feel behind every action bleeds into your connections, just like it does in your personal life. It's no different when you're connecting with people through social media. So if you have this expectant energy that a connection through social media is going to lead to a sale, then you'll find more people with their walls up with you. Versus if you go into it with a genuine desire to connect and an openness to what could unfold, then people are going to be a lot more open and curious to explore with you. So this doesn't mean that every single person that you connect with is going to feel open and available to connect with you, but it does definitely increase the probability and the amount of people that feel a bit more open to receive your messages. So we're going to be talking about outreach. And this is something that can actually be a pretty sensitive topic because I'm sure all of you guys have gotten those really annoying spammy messages in your DMs like, hey, want to grow to 10,000 followers? Like, pay us all this money and we'll help you, right? Like nobody likes to get those. And I'm sure you guys just probably delete them and you don't respond. But what these people are doing is actually a very powerful and strong strategy for making connections, right? They're reaching out. They're saying, hey, I have this thing. I'm curious if you're interested in it. But we want to take that strategy, that approach, and be a little bit more intentional with it. Be a lot more intentional with it. We want to come into that space with integrity, with honesty, with authenticity, right? Because we all want to feel those things, right? So I'm curious, is anyone in this room currently implementing an outreach strategy on social media where you're going out and reaching out to people? Okay, perfect. Okay, Mary's doing a little bit of that. But majority of the room isn't doing much. So we're gonna, and Bree says this is an area she struggles with big time. Yeah, I get it. I really struggled with this. When this strategy was first presented to me, I was like, are you crazy? We are like not doing that, okay? Like I'm all about attraction marketing, right? But the reality is, especially when you're first starting your business, you're first starting your social media, you're first starting things, or you've gone through a pivot and you're starting fresh, it can feel impossible and sometimes very challenging to find the right people who are not just watching your content and like, yeah, this is good, you know, great job, keep going, or whatever they're saying, but they're actually like, hey, I want to learn more about how to connect with you. I want to learn more about how to work with you. To actually connect with people who need what you're offering makes a huge difference compared to people who just, you know, want to support what you're doing and like it. So when you're first starting and you have a small following and your audience maybe isn't even your ideal target audience, this is a really, 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 really great way to connect with new people, to potentially open up sales, opportunities for sales, but also for market research. It can also be used for collaborations, just friendships, like lots of different ways you can use this strategy depending on what your goals are. And personally, I do not really advocate going into someone's DMs and immediately trying to sell them. That is like the worst thing that you could do. And I wouldn't recommend taking advice from these people coming in your DMs and saying, hey, you want to grow 10,000 followers? I got you. Hit this link, right? That's not what we're doing here. So this is a strategy where, yes, you are going out and taking some time to find accounts who match your ideal target audience, which if you haven't gotten clear on who you really want to work with, who you really specialize in supporting, I definitely recommend doing some exercises to get more clear on who you really want to speak to and work with and connect with, who your work is for and how it resonates with those people. Once you have an understanding of who you want to connect with, you can then go on social media and you can find those people. You can reach out to them with a really authentic, heart-centered message that connects to the work they're doing, who they are, something that you like about their page. There's lots of different ways to do it, but the goal is to really open up with the intention of connection. From there, you can take the conversation where it needs to go. You can invite them into, you know, maybe a free offer, something that you think would support them based on their responses to certain questions you've asked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to walk you guys through the step-by-step process that I go through with this DM strategy that has been very, very successful for me in, first of all, connecting with amazing people all over the world who have either turned into really good friends, beautiful collaborations, or aligned sales, people who end up, you know, joining the mastermind, people who end up working with me in different ways. There's lots of different potentials of how this could go. And the point is, with this strategy, you are opening up your door and you're saying, hey, I think that you're really amazing. The work you're doing looks really powerful, and I'd love to get to know you. It's the same idea as if you were to go to a networking event and walk up to somebody after they spoke on stage and say, wow, I really loved your speech. You know, that really touched me, and I really, you know, support what you're doing. I'd love to talk about how we can collaborate. It's the same concept, but we're doing it through social media. And because we're doing it through social media and there isn't that physical in-person connection, it can feel more disconnected. It can feel like, oh, you're just reaching out to sell me something, right? Because people are honestly traumatized at this point by like how many messages they probably received. So it's really important to be gentle in your approach, to be loving in your approach, to be compassionate in your approach, gentle, so that you can develop that trust. My favorite way to implement this strategy is to invite them into a space where we can develop more trust. So it might be a one-on-one call, it might be an event like this, it might be, you know, an opportunity to meet in person if there is a connection there as well. They are local. So there's lots of different ways to do it, but ultimately you really want to just build that trust and have zero expectations of where it's going to go so that you can allow whatever needs to blossom to blossom. So step by step, ultimately, you know, we're focused on the nurturing here. If you think of this whole process, if you think of your business, you think of your social media as a garden, this strategy is tending to the soil. And the soil is where all the nutrients live. It's where your, you know, your leads who don't even know you exist live. And to actually have our seeds grow in the soil, we have to give it certain amendments. We have to give it dead leaves. We have to give it, you know, carbon and different things so that it can break down and create healthier soil where the seeds can actually sprout and grow and eventually produce fruit. So we want to let go of any expectations first and foremost, most important thing. Just come in with the intention of connection. So to fully implement this strategy and stay consistent with it, there is some level of time commitment because it's not an automated process. You can automate certain parts of the process to make it easier for yourself. And this is very scalable as well. We're not going to go too deep into how to scale this process, but I'm going to teach you how to implement it within your business and paint the picture so you can start to see how you can grow with this and continue to expand. So first and foremost, I recommend creating space on your calendar every single week for this strategy. How often you do this is going to depend on your goals and your capacity. Like consistency is different for everyone, right? So it might literally be 30 minutes once a week. It might be an hour twice a week. It might be an hour every single day, right? Whatever you have the capacity for and what your goals are. So if you want fast growth, do this strategy more because you're going to just be putting yourself in front of more people. This is also going to tell the algorithm who you want to get in front of with your content so that your content is then pushed out to more people. I know we were talking all boo-boo on the algorithm. It does play a part in this role, but we can work with it and basically tell it where we want it to put our content to. So this is a way to basically prime your account and say, this is the container that we're cultivating. These are the people who I want to connect with. So create space in your calendar to do this consistently, whatever that looks like for you. And once it comes time to start implementing, you are going to open up some kind of a CRM database. If you don't already have a CRM database, which CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management, this is basically some kind of spreadsheet or Notion database or document where you're keeping track of the conversations you're having. Because as your business grows, you're going to have a lot of conversations with a lot of people. Some people who are going to be like, not right now. Some people who are going to be like, I'm totally in. Some people who are going to be like, I'm not interested in this, but if you ever make something about this, let me know. You want to make sure that you have these notes and somewhere for all of it to live. And this is super important for the DM marketing strategy, this outreach strategy, because we want to keep track of when's the last time we talked to them, where are they at in our process, and when's the next time that we need to follow up with them. Because the fortune is in the follow-up. This is the most important discipline that you can implement and integrate into your business is following up with the people that you've already started conversations with. It's more profitable to focus on that than it is to focus on new outreach. So once you get the ball rolling, you're going to want to focus on just following up with the people you've already connected with first before you go into, reaching out to new people. So there's lots of different options out there for CRMs. I personally use Notion that I created specifically for my team, and the funnel that we are using to, open up different layers of collaborations. So once you have that CRM open, I want you to set a timer for 30 minutes, whatever, amount of time you've blocked for yourself in your calendar, set a timer for that amount of time and play some music that puts you in a good mood. I love playing these subliminal affirmations in the background while I'm doing this, because if I get a message that's like, no, you're trying to scam me, or like, I am not interested, like, get out of here, whatever it is, because you will get rejected in this strategy. It's a part of it. It's a really great way to just get comfortable with getting rejected, which is a common thing when you're running your own business, right? Having the subliminal music behind helps me prime my subconscious to just move on when I get those kinds of messages. So that's a nice thing to have, but anything that puts you in a good mood and has you energized and excited is a great thing to have on while you're doing this practice. And I personally like doing 30-minute increments because it's enough to get a lot done without burning out. If I'm sitting there doing DMs for like an hour, oftentimes I can feel really burnt out after doing it. So just pay attention to what works for you. Everyone's different in the way, like, we need to hack our time and our mind and, you know, whatever. So see what works for you, but that's my recommendation of 30 minutes. Like I said before, if you already have the momentum going, focus on your follow-ups first and foremost. And this means going through any accounts that you need to check in with, whether they've responded or not. Like maybe you sent a message and it's been a week and you just want to circle back and say, hey, I'm just like popping this to the top of your feed because life gets busy. Sometimes people see things, they don't respond, even though they are interested. This also means if anyone has responded to a message you've sent them, opening up that message and responding to them as well, getting them whatever information they need, answering their questions, or just continuing the conversation along. The next thing you want to focus on is those outbound messages, the new outreach. And keep in mind that each social media platform is going to vary a little bit with the flow and the way you implement this strategy. A lot of what I'm talking about, I'm speaking mostly to Instagram. However, the same strategy can be implemented on Facebook and LinkedIn, and not so much TikTok and YouTube because there isn't as much of a DM environment going on in those places, right? But Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn are really great places to implement this. Just keep in mind Facebook and LinkedIn might have some nuances that you'll want to consider. So when we're trying to find new accounts to reach out to, there's a couple of different ways that we can go about this. The first thing you can do is if you already have an established following and you want to check in and see if like anyone in there is your ideal client or not, or you want to just touch base and foster a deeper connection with the people who are already following you, this is a great place to start. You can go in there and reach out to people from your following list. You can also go to other accounts that you've been following and you really enjoy. And it's really important still that they have a similar target audience to you. So if you're a somatic practitioner, you know, you can go to other somatic practitioners' social media accounts and just kind of go through their followers, go through the people in the comments, the people who have liked their posts, and just explore and see if there's anyone who you would vibe with. That's a great way to find people to connect with. The other thing you can do is search for keywords. So, for example, if you're looking for people who are specifically mothers, you can type in motherhood, and maybe you'll find someone who does, you know, some kind of mothering specific, you know, work. If you're looking for coaches, musicians, artists, etc., you can type that in and see what comes up. You can also, from searching in keywords, then go to accounts that are similar and go through the followers, go through the comments, and see if you find anyone who you would vibe with, really, is the intention. So I want to explore with you guys, before we move forward, the ethics of this. Because there can be some questions around, well, if you're going into other business owners' accounts and you're searching for people who are following them, like, is that really ethical? Are you like stealing leads, right? Because we don't want to do that. We're all on the same page. Like we really value integrity here. So let's explore the efficacy of this. If you think about it, you're in a community, right? You're in a community online, you're in a community offline in your town, right? There are other people who do what you do. There are other businesses that do the same things. If we come back to what we were talking about from the beginning, people want to buy from you, people want to collaborate with you, people want to work with you because of who you are. So if you reach out to somebody from someone else's page and they are committed to working with the person whose account you found them on, they're not going to, they might not respond to you, or they might just say no. If they are following that person because they are interested in the content that they're sharing, but they haven't quite found the resonance there, and there hasn't quite been an offer that's hit where they're at, and you come into their lives and they're like, I have been praying for this. Is that not ethical? I personally believe that it is our moral obligation when we have something that we know can help people to like shout it from the rooftops, to share it from wherever we can. And so when we are looking at this DM strategy, ultimately it is up to the person to make their own decision on whether or not they want to respond to you in the first place, whether or not they want to move forward with you, work with you, take you up on that free offer. If they've been following the person that they have been following for some time and they haven't been reached out to, they haven't been nurtured, they haven't been offered something that really connects with where they're at and what they're needing, and you're able to offer that to them, I personally believe that that is still an ethical approach and not necessarily stealing a lead, right? Because you're showing up and you're doing something different. You're offering something that might be similar, that's different because of who you are, your unique blessing that you bring to it, to the table. Does that make sense? Do you guys resonate with that? Cool. Because it's an important conversation to have, right? Like, we want to be doing this in a way that's in integrity, because there's ways that it can easily flip out from that, right? So it's important to keep that in mind. You know, what's your intention behind all of this? Again, what's your intention? What's your intention, right? So I'm going to move through the rest a little bit quickly because we are going over on time a little bit. Thanks for staying with me, you guys. Once you found the person, and I don't want you guys to spend too much time like going through their posts and trying to decide if they're a fit or not. Just kind of get a general feel for the vibe, watch a couple pieces of content, follow them, like a couple of their posts. It's nice to leave a nice like heartfelt comment on a post like, hey, I really love this. I loved it when you were talking about this specific thing. It brought this reflection up for me, right? Be honest. Or it can just be simple like, I love this. This is great. And then my favorite approach is to then see if they have an active story. So if you're on Instagram or Facebook, this applies. If they have an active story, go watch the story and reply to the story with like, love this, this is so great, oh my gosh, right? Whatever is true and authentic for you in that moment. And that creates chat history. So it will help, you know, put your chat in the primary folder, not just in the requests, or it'll help like kind of bump it when you message them. So from there, either once they have read the story reply and they've responded, or just after you've sent it, you can send them a nurture message. And this nurture message is something along the lines of, hey, I just found your page. I'm absolutely loving your content. The work you're doing is super powerful. Or, you know, you have a beautiful family, or whatever it is that's you want to compliment them on, honestly and authentically. You can share that with them then in the message, followed up with a question to just understand who they are deeper. And this question, you want it to be kind of like a yes and question, or like a simple, clear response. If you ask someone like, how are you doing in life, right? That's like such an open-ended question. They could write you back like a book, or just be overwhelmed and not respond. So having something concise, kind of something they can choose from, like, do you work one-on-one or do you work with groups? Or, you know, are you, and we also don't want to get too intimate too quick. So if you're doing something with relationships, you don't want to go in like, are you happy with your relationship? because their walls are just going to go up like, who the heck are you? Why are you asking me these questions? Right? So you want to ease into it. Ask them something that inspires them to share a little bit about themselves. Follow up with another question that goes a little bit deeper. And then that should give you enough information to determine, are they a fit for the work that I do or not? Or maybe they have something to offer you and there's a collaboration there. Maybe it's like, hey, want to go live on Instagram together and just like chat and just like connect, just build that rapport, build that connection. Maybe you want to invite them to something from there. So there's a lot of different ways to lead from the nurture message, but the most important is building that connection and that trust in the first place. So you're going to continue to do that process, reaching out to new people, following up. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat for you guys. And again, this is going to be in the resources in the email with the replay. But this is going to help you keep track of how things are going. So you have the CRM database, customer relationship management, to keep track of your notes and where people are at in the process. So if your goal is to take someone from connecting on social media to investing in your program or your one-on-one or whatever it is, or a collaboration, whatever that outcome is, what are the steps in between that are taking them there? That's where you're going to track it in the CRM. This link that I'm going to send you guys right now is a resource where you can track how many messages have you sent out today, how many calls were booked from those messages, and how many sales were made. That way you can see how well your messages are performing, and that's going to give you an understanding of if you need to tweak your messaging. Like maybe you're sending out so many messages and you're not getting any responses, you're not getting any calls booked, you're not moving anything forward. That's a good sign that probably your first nurture message or your question you're asking is putting walls up for people. So then you can go back and look and just tweak it and try something else. I'm also going to drop a link to a document with a couple of example nurture scripts. So we talked about kind of scaling with this strategy. Scripts are a really great way to do that and just speed up your process. And ultimately, if the scripts are written from your heart as an extension of who you are and the truth that you would actually say to someone, then I personally don't see anything wrong with using a script. It saves you time, saves you energy, and it's what you would be typing out anyways. Maybe like if you typed it out, it just would have been like slightly different, right? So I use a couple of different versions of nurture scripts that speak to common things that I love and appreciate about people's profiles when I come across their pages. And so I alternate between those depending on what's authentic and real in that moment for that person. Then we have the next step, the next step, the next step, the next step, all laid out in scripts. But this is enough to get you started, just reaching out to people and connecting with them. The questions you continue to ask, the invitations you continue to extend is going to depend on your personal business and what your goals are. So if you want to just have a connection call, discovery call with someone to continue to build that trust, that's great. If you want to invite them to an event where they can continue to build that trust and receive value from you, that's great. If you want to go right into a sales call, you can do that too, but it's helpful to build that trust first. Okay, so when we're using the scripts, I'm going to also just drop this resource in the chat as well. There's a really handy app called Boards, and this is something you can download on your phone. It is free to use. There's a paid version if you need it, but the free version will probably be fine for you guys. And this is where you can store all of your scripts, and you can write your scripts as you go, right? Like as you do the outreach and you're like, oh, okay, I want to ask this question. You can pop it into this app and it connects to your keyboard on your phone. So as you're in the DMs, you can just click on the script you want to put into the chat and it will send it. It's a very, very useful tool, saves a lot of time and energy. And in the future, if you're working with virtual assistants and you want to have them help you with responding to messages and implementing the strategy, you can also give them these scripts to become an extension of you, even more so. So the key is, again, just to kind of recap, don't hold any expectation on if someone's going to be a client or not. Reach out with an invitation and the intention to connect, and give out real, authentic, compliments and recognition. And it's also really important when you get rejections, because you will, to not take them personal and understand there's so many different reasons why someone might be saying no. You can always ask for feedback, and I do recommend doing this. Like, if someone is saying no, and you can lean in with curiosity, like, I'm just curious, like, what is inspiring, like, your decision to say no? I just want to, improve, and your feedback is super helpful. Like, we don't always know what we can do to improve until we ask other people to provide that reflection. Then we can decide for ourselves whether or not it's something we take with us. So again, this is a great strategy to really grow your following if you're new, or if you've had a pivot, to reactivate a particular, audience for the algorithm, for your page, so that you can continue to grow and be connected with the right people. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information, and we are at the end of our time together, but I do just want to give the opportunity for anyone who wants to stay on to ask questions, share reflections, etc., etc. Before we do that, I just really want to invite you guys to make sure that you are on time for our session tomorrow, because we are going to dive in. We're going to talk about the content creation piece, some organizational systems, but also how to create content that feels really authentic and aligned, while also managing, the hormonal flow and the cycles and the ebbs and flows of life. How do we stay consistent, and what does consistency mean for us? So please show up on time, ready to take notes, hydrated with a glass of water, and we're going to dive right in. But for now, to wrap up, does anyone have any questions, ahas, or reflections that they want to share? Feel free to unmute whenever you're ready. All right, go for it.
So, I know many people here already have like their business all rounded and everything. I'm just starting, but I was thinking maybe later when my business is like actually growing, like I see it's like, sprouting. It's just a seed. I just planted the seed, but once it's sprouting, and I have like maybe some questions, or I might need some guidance. Is there a way that we can connect so we can like dive into those details later?
Yeah, absolutely. To clarify, are you asking about connecting with the group that's here, or connecting with me directly and my
No,
team?
with you. So I
Okay.
can like tell you like, hey, now my business is here and I want to take it here. How do I do that? Like,
Yeah, that's a great question.
because I feel that what you shared here is like good for me to start. That's the stage where I am. But maybe later more things will pop out that I'll be like, this is new and I don't know how to navigate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually exactly why I created the Radiant Presence Mastermind that we're all being a part of here today. So in the mastermind, there's one-on-one support, and there's also group support and trainings and things to help you move along in your business, because there are so many nuances when it comes to running a business. Like, I can give general information to you guys all day, every day, but until I take a deeper look into your business, like, we can only go so far, because each of you has a unique blueprint for the way that you want to run your business in alignment with who you are. So tomorrow, I'm going to do a very, very, very short commercial, like 10 minutes out of the 4 hours of training, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to work with me if you want to get extra, support for your business. Okay, is that helpful? Okay, awesome. And if you have any questions about working together beyond, tomorrow's training, then we can have that conversation on our feedback call as well. So also super important, if you have questions about that, to come to the feedback call that we have scheduled. Awesome. Okay, Bree,
Hey, I know we're over time, so we can totally address this tomorrow. But first, I know I'm so excited for tomorrow. I love everything that you just shared. I'm so hyped for tomorrow's topics. Um, but and I wanted to say when you reached out to me and now like seeing like almost behind the mirror of the like how you did that, I felt receiving it that your approach was so different than a lot of the other messages I've got where instantly like I'm like, oof, like I this is a bot, like I don't want to respond. Like it felt like there was genuine authenticity to it, and I just admire and respect, and it was part of the reason why I was like drawn to understanding like I want to know the magic of how you did that. And I think that, something I'm sitting here, my wheels turning, and again, we can address this tomorrow, but in your message, like we had our call and now I'm here, obviously. And I'm curious if you have any recommendations for a one-on-one funnel, because typically I hold a consult call, but essentially like that consult call, it is a sales call in a lot of ways too, because the next step is to work together. It's not like I'm offering a free container. Like I suppose as I'm saying this out loud, I could offer a free session. But I was wondering if maybe that would be a recommendation or if you had another idea.
Yeah, great question. So there's a lot of different ways that you could do it for, funneling into a one-on-one container. You could still have anyone who's interested in a one-on-one container run an event for them where you're doing kind of like a group session and then you share about your one-on-one container. Maybe it's on a particular topic that that community seems to really need support with. You could also, and that's a great way to kind of get a lot of leads, that trust and connection at one time. So you're not doing like a million one-on-one calls, discovery calls, and then sales calls, because that's a lot of time and energy. So you could have them come into an event. You could also do just like a very short connection call if you do want to have that one-to-one high touch experience with them. As you guys all know, we all have a 15-minute connection call. That gives us the opportunity to connect and get to know each other a little bit more outside of the DM. It builds trust and also gives us the opportunity to handle the logistics for the event. Some people even do forms, like questionnaires, a freebie, something that you can offer them for free that's going to support them with where they're at, what their challenges are, which then brings them into an email sequence where you can nurture them and sell the one-on-one. That is a little bit more hands-off. So if you're newer in your business and you don't necessarily have that level of trust and authority within your community yet, I definitely recommend doing more of a approach where people can see you in your genius and your expertise through an event or through a connection call, where they're able to get the information as well. That's why I do events, not just to sell my mastermind, because I want to really provide value for everyone who comes. It's also an opportunity for me to deepen connections and to give people the opportunity to see my expertise and my gifts on display and to build trust with that. So that if the mastermind is a fit, if it is determined that the mastermind is a fit, they get to make that decision for themselves to move forward. And they have all the information they need to make that decision. Yeah.
That makes so much sense. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And of course, every business is going to have its own unique path, depending on what feels good for you, but those are some things that you can explore. Awesome. Any last thoughts or questions? Reflections?
I'll just mirror Grace, what you just said about like with the one-on-ones, because I do a lot of one-on-ones too, and I'm like, well, how do I have a free offering where I'm not extending so much energy just offering free one-on-one sessions? Because I know for me that actually builds resentment. And my therapist, who's also become my mentor, I've done like tons of trainings with her, she is incredible. How I got in was she did exactly what you did. What you said was offer. I think she picked something that she was just so freaking passionate about, and you just saw her magic, right? Even if I didn't really fully resemble with what she was like the actual topic, I could like feel into who she was. But it wasn't a one-on-one. It was a like a group offering, and you could just tell because whether anybody signed up or nobody signed up or everybody signed up, it did not matter because she was speaking on something that just it was who she was. Like it was her the one thing that she was most passionate about. So that was just a beautiful reminder. I don't have the capacity. I haven't had the capacity to do that yet because I haven't really had the strategies in place. I shouldn't say capacity. I haven't really had the strategies in place. But that's something that's my next step.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Doing some kind of group training event where people can come receive value on a specific topic, but also a topic that you feel empowered and like embodied in is super important. It's a great way to just make those connections stronger. And yeah, a big part of that is having the strategies and understanding the nuances of how to bring people from we just met on the internet to I trust you enough to say yes to an event and to actually show up. There's nuances that go in between that and then running the event and then actually making sales from that event as well. And that's part of what I teach in the mastermind, those nuances, those strategies as well of how I've done all of this. But it's my personal favorite because it really does foster those connections and it's a lot of fun. You know, I get to just show up in my joy, sharing about things that I'm really passionate about that, you know, hopefully resonates with you guys. So I love it. I love this conversation. Okay, so we are wrapping up day one of how to show up radiant on social media without burnout within the Radiant Presence Mastermind. And I am so grateful that you guys chose to take the time to spend your